Kleinian and Bionian seminars in the Institute of APA. Teacher of English School of Psychoanalysis in Universidad Argentina John F, Buenos Aires.
University.
Okay. His topic will be what happens in the potential space between the patient and the analyst. Okay, Dr. Ricardo Spector, it's your time now.
Well, good morning to everybody. I prefer to read because English is not my maternal language. It's not easy for me to speak English, so I prefer to read and then we can speak. Okay, I'll begin my presentation with an old but absolutely up-to-date statement proposed by Roger Kiel in his paper called Normal Countertransference and Some of its Deviations. It's 1956. There he says, the effort involved for the analyst is in differentiating the patient's contribution from his own. I'll offer my current view of this subject here. I'll offer a schema of the evolution of the investigation concerning psychoanalytical study of the relationship between analyst and patient, mainly in the line of Freud, Klein and Bion, and some of the current ideas derived from these authors, principally from Baby Joseph. My next step will be the presentation of a brief clinical vignette explored from some different vertices. Freud's ideas developed from seeing transference as an obstacle to seeing it as an essential tool in the psychoanalytic process. Observing how the patient's relationships to the original object were transferred with all the richness to the person of the analyst. Stretchy, using Melanie Klein's discoveries of the way in which projection and introjection color the individual's inner objects, showed that what was being transferred is not primarily the external object of the child's past, but the internal object, and the way that these objects are constructed helps us to understand how the analytic process can produce change, which is the most important for us, to produce change. Melanie Klein, through her continued work on early object relationships and early mental mechanisms, perhaps particularly projective identification, extended our understanding of the nature of transference and the process of transferring. She went on to describe how for many years transference had been understood in terms of direct references to the analyst, and how only later had it been realized that, for example, such things as reports about everyday life and so on gave a clue to the unconscious anxiety stirred up in the transference situation. Much of our understanding of the transference comes through our understanding of how our patients act on us to feel things for many varied reasons, how they try to draw us into their defensive system, how they unconsciously act out with us in the transference, trying to get us to act out with them. Countertransference, the feeling aroused in the analyst, like transference itself, was originally seen as an obstacle to the analytic work, but now, used in this broader sense, we would see too no longer as an obstacle, but as an essential tool of the analytic process. Further, the notion of our being used and of something constantly going on if only we can become aware of it, opens up many other aspects of transference. The patient, J, is a 20 years old young man. His parents, both university educated, came to see me before I met him for the first time. They were worried about his difficulties with his studies, their impossibility to have a normal conversation with him, and his very strong attachment to political militancy. He used to be an average student, had some friends, and even being a bit quiet, that didn't seem to worry up until that moment. When he was 18, he went abroad on a 2-week-long student trip and came back strange. According to them, he began an inconsistent verbal struggle against capitalism, participated in a political party established in the university, and began to receive very bad grades in his recently begun studies of sociology. They told me that he had had a previous psychotherapeutic treatment that had ended a year before, because the therapist he was well enough to end. He told them that their son was a neurotic patient. When I met Jay, he began by saying that he needed a light treatment with one session every 15 days or something like that. He agreed with his parents that he was in need of psychological treatment, but according to him, his sole problem was that intercourse with a girl. He said he feared his erection would not be adequate, and that he was sure that everyone in his environment would know about his failure. Though he had some friends, his most important social environment was with his militant comrades. When I asked him, he said that he didn't notice any important change after his trip abroad, but he acknowledged that he felt that there were two different periods in his relationships with girls. Until a moment that he couldn't specify, he had no troubles with his sexual capacities, and he had had 2 girlfriends. But in the second period, he began to feel a terrible anxiety when faced with a woman. He seemed convinced that the cause of this was that his mother didn't want him being with girls at home. From his standpoint, she was an absolutely authoritarian. This information didn't match with what I got from the parents, and he himself admitted that his younger brother was with girls and there were no complaints by his parents. Relating to studies, he said, I can pass my examinations without studying a lot. I have a great capability to invent and seem like a person who knows what he is talking about. I could agree with that if one puts aside a deeper examination of his statements. He said that he wanted to break his family stereotypes. In example, being a professional and earning money. It was clear to me from the beginning that he was defensively transforming goals that he considered important to be achieved by him into undesirable stereotypes strongly demanded by his parents. I also could realize that he tried to fill up the sessions, showing me a kind of megalomania that looked real athletic. Political affiliation, that oddly moral thing, justified his actions in the work, his family and the therapy, exams, couple relationships, and the meaning of an interpretation could be diverted in the name of political affiliation and the struggle against capitalism. Based on that, he chose the subject that he wanted to study, with dark criteria and notorious incompetence. The people and ideas that he accepted were either retained or ruled out based on such affiliation. I thought I was dealing with delirium or hallucination. I wasn't dealing with delirium or hallucination as described by psychiatrists, but it seems obvious that he suffered from thought disorders more worrying than the evident sexual dysfunctions. He said that he can be part of the family system, but that he chooses not to be. After some interviews, he agreed to begin a treatment with 3 sessions a week, partially acknowledging, I think, the magnitude of his mental troubles. Frequently, at the beginning of the sessions, almost always arriving 15 minutes late, he complained for having to be there. He would prefer to be elsewhere and not with me. It was clear to both of us that he couldn't use his time outside in a valuable way, and even not knowing why or how, he was feeling better since the beginning of the treatment. But even so, he explicitly insisted in saying that the sessions bothered him. Now, after having been in treatment for a year, he has obtained a certain degree of social adjustment. He can work in relatively simple jobs linked with what he studies. His militancy is now under more rational basis. His megalomaniac attitude has certainly decreased during the sessions, and according to his parents' comments, everything has become easier with him at home. His relationship with me has become a little bit less marked by the projection of a very demanding superego, and this has permitted the unfolding of the pattern that I want to examine more closely here with you. As sessions went on, I began to be aware of distinctive states of mind in me at the end of our encounters, and sometimes during them. Sometimes I felt angry with him, probably because of his explicit lack of collaboration, and sometimes I felt that I was reassuring him rather than helping him to understand and cope with his emotional troubles. Then, in a short period of 2 weeks, material emerged that matched my own feelings. I'll summarize those more. First, a report about the situation that he lived through. Quote, "My mother wanted her office to be painted during the long weekend. She asked Pedro, our porter, to do the job. He didn't finish in time, and my father had to do it. My father and I thought that he, the porter, probably couldn't, and that we'd have to wait for his explanation. But she said that he is just a son of a bitch. She said, both of you, father and son, prefer to find an explanation instead of accepting that there are people that are just son of bitches. She will never forgive him." Then a dream. I can just remember a little bit of the dream I had last night. It was Cristina, the former Argentine woman president, smoking cigarettes one after the other. My father was in the dream, trying to speak with her. I think that I was just watching the scene, but can't remember anything else. Associations were given that put the woman president as a kind of terrible figure. If we put together the dream, the report of the painting situation, the reason he gave almost a year before for his sexual difficulties, his mother banning the presence of girls, own awareness concerning how I felt towards him, a structural resemblance emerges that links these heterogeneous elements. This made me aware of a configuration of a pattern that I consider very useful for the understanding of the patient and the analytical situation. So the emergent pattern that needs to be tested for further development was: the maternal object is powerful, authoritarian, impedes thinking, and offers visions of people based on moral aspects of superiority, inferiority. I said the maternal object, not the mother. The object represented by the father figure is subdued under the maternal object power,
5 minutes.
but okay, there will be less. But try to understand, and this sometimes reassuring. We can consider this pattern as a way of expressing the patient's unconscious beliefs about the primal sin, assuming that those beliefs have great influence in his everyday life and, of course, in his pathology. He was pushed sometimes to act as the maternal object, punishing him somehow. Pardon, I was pushed sometimes to act as the maternal object, punishing him somehow, mostly by means of terrible critiques of his impotence to think and act properly. In many sessions, as a person who feels himself unforgivable. In those cases, he was defiant and felt that he had nothing to say. Sometimes I was pushed to act in reassuring him and avoiding the efforts and the unavoidable feelings of sadness and guilt that come with growing up. Before finishing, I want to make some references to the clinical use of transference, countertransference, as a means of keeping alive the analytical process. I assume that transference is driven in large measure by unconscious fantasy, and is a chief way of understanding fantasy through the impact of the transference on the analyst. As this case illustrates, it's very important not mainly to what the patient says, but to what the patient and the analyst do. More than recognizing a manifestations of transference, I'd say the analyst considers by finding a pattern that it's useful to consider something as a transference manifestation. To analyze the transference means to elaborate the changes in the conception of the patient-analyst relationship. These conceptions or beliefs go side by side with the ways in which the patient feels and thinks in everyday life. In the situation that I presented here, the impeding strength of the maternal object diminished, and Jane gained some freedom to think and feel and for reality testing. Thank you.
Thank you.